Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Bhagavad-gita Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Bhagavad-gita Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Prabhu, is it Chris? Can you shut that door? Maybe just leave maybe a foot open. Let's maybe cut down some on that street noise. Yeah, leave it just a little bit open. That's good. Yeah, good, perfect. Okay, we will be studying text 16 today on page 271. Not on the floor. I forgot to mention. Not on the floor. Yeah, you can give it back. Okay, page 271. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 28th day of August, 2019, in SanDiego, a reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 6 entitled Dhyana Yoga, the Yoga of Meditation. Text number 16, top of 271. Nat yashnatastu yogosti nachaikantamanashnataha nachati swapnashilasya jagvato naivacharjana Nat yashnatastu yogosti nachaikantamanashnataha nachati swapnashilasya jagvato naivacharjuna nat yashnatastu yogosti nachaikandamanashnataha Nachati swapna shilasya Jagrato naivacharjuna Natnyashnatastu yogosti Nachaikanda manashnataha Nachati swapna shilasya Jagrato naivacharjuna. Natnyashnatastu yogosti Nachaikanda manashnataha Nachati swapna shilasya Jagrato naivacharjuna. Natnyashnatastu yogosti Nachaikanda manashnataha Nachati swapna shilasya Jagrato naivacharjana. Anyone else want to have a go at it? You don't have to. Natyashnatastu yogosti Nachaikanda manashnataha Nachati swapna shilasya Jagrato naivacharjana. Okay, I'll read through the word by word meanings. Na, never, ati, too much, ashnataha, of one who eats, two, but, yogaha, linking with the Supreme. Asti, there is, na, nor, cha, also, ekantam, overly, anashnataha, abstaining from eating. Na, not, cha, also, ati, too much, swapna shilasya, of one who sleeps, jagrata, or one who keeps night watch too much. Na, not, eva, ever, cha, and Arjun, O Arjun. Translation. Lord Krishna says to Arjun, there is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjun, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Purport. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple foodstuff is considered to be in the mode of goodness according to the Bhagavad Gita. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna, will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Bundate te dvagam papa ye pachanchatma karanat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. Nor can one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. Om jnana timarandasya jnanandana salakaya chakshu unmilatam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So here, in this section of the 6th chapter, Krishna is giving practical instructions on how to practice yoga. Now, what kind of yoga? This is a kind of yoga called Dhyana yoga, as the title of the chapter tells us, which is meditative yoga, and it's sometimes known as Ashtanga yoga. Have you heard of that phrase? Ashtanga. So Ashtanga simply means 8 limbs. And the 8 limbs are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So Krishna has first described the benefits of this. He's talking in the first few verses of this chapter about the mind and how the mind is our best friend or it's our worst enemy. Now, this presupposes some knowledge of like one of our main problem in this world, which is transmigration. Of that we're going from body to body, although we forget that, we don't know that. Does anyone here remember his last life? I don't. But we learn from Bhagavad Gita that we all had a last life, and we'll have a future life, different from this body. So, what determines what kind of body we get? This is a very, very important point. Now, it's taught in the Vedic wisdom literatures that each of us is a spirit soul. That's the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita. We're not matter, we're spirit. And the body itself is made up of different varieties of matter, which Krishna will outline in the next chapter. Earth or solid matter, which we see in the mirror, and liquids, gases, radiant energy, which includes like our digestive fire within our body, and of course all of this electricity, that's all fire, space, and then more and more subtle, mind, intelligence, and ego. These are the 8 material categories of material energy. And that's what our body is made of. But that's not who we are. Krishna says beyond all of these things is a different grade of energy called spirit or Atma. The Atma is who we actually are. And that Atma is said to be like a particle of consciousness that's part and parcel of the supreme consciousness, Krishna. So we're never actually separated from Krishna, although we forget our connection because we identify with this material body. So how does it work? So the material, the Atma or the soul within the body animates the body with consciousness. It's described. Avinasi tatadvidi yena sarvamidam tatam. This word yena sarvamidam, tatam means to pervade. That which pervades the entire body, says Krishna in the 2nd chapter, you should know to be indestructible. No one can destroy this indestructible soul. So we have no birth, we have no death. Isn't it great news to find out that death is an illusion? Nobody's going to die. But if we completely identify with this body, which will one day die, then we'll feel that I'm dying. You see? It'll be a tremendously frightful experience. This is one of the greatest, side benefits of Krishna consciousness, is that the anxiety that comes with all of the frailties of this body, and the idea that especially as you get older, now what's going to happen? I'm going to lose everything that I treasure, beginning with the body itself, and all my connections and relationships and money, what I've achieved. What's going to happen? It's going to be gone. What have I really achieved? There's so many anxieties that come, mostly from being separated from people and things that you love. So the first lesson is that we're not the body, we're spirit soul, and our natural state is Satchidananda, is to understand that Sat is eternal, Chit is consciousness or knowledge, and Ananda is bliss. So our natural state is full bliss and full knowledge for eternity. Now, we all have to face the fact that we're not in our present state, we're not in that state. We're definitely not eternal. There's so many things we don't know, and there's so many things that cause us pain and suffering or anxiety and so forth. We have happiness, there's a mix there, but it's of a very flickering kind. So the mission of the human life is to get from here to there, is to find a path. This famous bhakti marga, yoga marga, means a path from where we're at to where we want to be, which we're encouraged by the Shastra and by all of the great teachers. This is our natural state. This is our legacy or our birthright. So Krishna is teaching in this Bhagavad Gita different kinds of ways of doing that, different kinds of yoga. We've been through karma yoga, we've been through jnana yoga in previous chapters. Karma yoga is yoga of action, which may be characterized as the main quality is sacrifice. The things that you do in this world, which we have, even the things that we do to live and sustain ourselves, need to be done in the mood of sacrifice. That is, that whatever we have that's beyond what we need to live comfortably, we should give, to the cause of God, of the divine, rather than becoming centered and becoming attached to those things. See, here's the science of transmigration. The mind is the vehicle for that transmigration. When the body finally drops, the mind doesn't. This is how we know. That's why I say the first surprise when you die is, hey, I'm not dead. What is going on? I mean, by now, hasn't everyone heard of these near-death experiences, right? Where someone has a heart attack in the hospital, and the body's is not working right, and the emergency, they all run inside, And so, but it comes at but if he or she survives, and you come back into the body, and sometimes you could say, oh yeah, I saw Dr. So-and-so came in there and did this, and she dropped the vial of that. Isn't it? I mean, there are cases like that. It's not a mystery anymore. You find it all over YouTube. So what does that mean? It means that was a near-death experience. But when there is a death experience, the same thing happens. But then the body really does die. Then you go on this journey to the next body. We don't know where. What determines that is your state of mind and your karma, previous activities, which means there's a higher regulators who are determining just what body you're going to get. So because we're human beings, we have the opportunity to direct the development of our consciousness between now and when we leave the body, so that the mind is in an ideal state to take us to the best body. Now, we find in the Bhagavad Gita, throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking, and we just read in the previous verse in text 13:14, he's giving all of these practical instructions, sitting in a certain way with back and head erect, and in a certain seat, in a seclusion, so many things. And then at the end he says, on the 268, matpara, yukta asita matpara, and make me the ultimate goal of life. In other words, ultimately the meditation, or whatever yoga you're practicing, is meant to connect you with Krishna and allow you to absorb your mind in Krishna. Like if you come into this temple building, why is this different from other buildings? Because everything in it is designed to draw your attention to Krishna. And so that we're reading Krishna's book. The deities are there being prepared for a nice kirtan in 8:15 if you can stay. And then you can see, and of course we'll be chanting Hare Krishna. So, and the food we eat is prasadam. It is offered, it is cooked with devotion, offered to Krishna, and so it's a spiritual act. It's not a material act. When you cook just for yourself, as Prabhupada refers to in this purport, it can be the nicest vegetarian food, which is good. There's certainly less karma there, but still, it's a selfish act. And if you just eat that way, then that alone will bring you back to another body. You see, it's a science. It's a scientific process. So here, in our present verse, Krishna is describing moderation, the famous, what is it called, medium way? In other words, not too much, not too little. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. Don't sleep too much, don't sleep too little. The mode of goodness. There's these different modes of nature, which will be explained in detail in the 14th chapter. And we all experience them, we just don't know what they're called, and the science of it works. Whatever you do with your senses, whatever you associate with, or whoever you associate with, there is an effect on you. You have an effect on them, they have an effect on you. This is how life works. So, the music you listen to, like, I'm not a really big fan of say, grunge music. I don't know if that's even a thing anymore. But rap music, whatever. It has a certain, it helps to encourage the lower modes, of life. I used to be a big fan of classical music. I remember I bought shortly before I joined the temple, or maybe a couple of years before I got into yoga and everything. Bach's Mass in B minor. Have you ever heard of that? It's a religious song, I mean, a work of music. And, there's all this choral music. And it's very uplifting. And even I remember as a kid, when Christmas would come around, I wasn't a Christian, but everyone had to go, in school. We would sing the carols, and it was, maybe because I had some previous life connection, it was I felt excited about Christmas just because of the music and the whole atmosphere and the thing that changed. So I was attracted to a certain mode of nature and affected by it. Now, this, as Prabhupada is explaining in this purport here, if you follow this instruction, you'll stay on an even keel. The point is, you won't be affected. Everyone knows if you eat too much, way too much, you feel sleepy, you take rest, and your mind isn't at peace. The whole idea is to do everything that's conducive to calm mind so that you can practice yoga. Now, this practice of yoga that he's talking about is really very austere. First of all, go alone, to the Himalayas or somewhere. Who's going to do that? But the whole idea is away from distraction. Away from distraction. It's not that you go to the Himalayas and you bring your cell phone. That would probably be the biggest renunciation difficulty in today's world. But so free from distraction, and then so you're dealing directly with your mind, but the mind itself is very powerful. And so these techniques of pranayama, and not eating too much, not sleeping too much, so you dream, this is what's talking about here. Now, in this purport, Prabhupada talks about the importance of a vegetarian diet as well as prasadam. Because in addition to our own attachments and our own state of mind, there's also what we do in life. Everything is recorded. And so it's completely unnecessary. As everyone knows, within the last couple of months or so, there's this huge popularization of what do they call the vegetable-based meat type things, right? Impossible foods, watch that stuff. So, and it's becoming very popular. It tastes like meat, it tastes like a burger, but it's not. It's not made from meat, which is all to the good. I mean, we would never eat like something like that. But the idea is that it's completely unnecessary and harmful, both to your body, to the ecology, to the atmosphere, to everything. To have these huge slaughterhouses and these poor animals getting, slaughtered everywhere. And, just look what the result of that kind of consciousness is reflected now in this thing that's happening in the Amazon. Is everyone following that? It's all burning up. Because most of it is being burned up to make feedlots for the animals to raise for slaughter. They do that in Brazil. It's a big thing. So the thing is, everything has its effect on everything else. The point is, if you make your heart very hard by being uncaring for the animals, because even though you don't have to eat meat, you like meat, then that will reflect in how you relate to other people as well, and to the environment. It's all of a piece. If your mind is in the modes of ignorance, you're less and less concerned about what others feel, and you're more and more self-centered. It's like that. Just being, living in the moment, whatever feels good, do it now, That's kind of animalistic consciousness. Animals don't plan for the future. They go by instinct. That's okay for them. There's no karma for them. They're going through the species. But human beings have a higher responsibility. It's a great gift. And in this human life, we have the chance to learn what our real situation is, to learn what the goal of life is, and to actually follow it. It's rare that someone does that, as Krishna says in the 4th chapter, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatama visiddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvadaha. He says, out of many, many millions of human beings, sahasra, he says thousands, but it's more than thousands, one will try for perfection. And of those who achieve some level of perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So we're very fortunate, because Lord Chaitanya has come, Krishna has come, as the most merciful avatar, to give us the simplest way, easiest way to sacrifice. In ages gone by, this dhyana yoga was very popular. In other words, this was the Yuga Dharma. You know about the different yugas, different ages. So this is Kali Yuga, but before that came Dwapara Yuga and Treta Yuga and Satya Yuga. Satya Yuga, people lived very, very long. And this meditation, Ashtanga Yoga, was the process of self-realization. They would meditate for hundreds or even thousands of years. It's hard to even imagine. But gradually the mode of goodness decreased, and in Treta Yuga, people didn't live quite as long, and huge sacrifices were very popular. But it means getting hundreds of Brahmins to chant in exact unison. You know how you realize how hard it is just for us to chant this one little mantra? If we had to chant the mantra perfectly to go back to Godhead, we wouldn't have any chance. But because it's Krishna, he's looking at the heart. There's this phrase, Bhava Grahi Janardana. Janardana is the name of Krishna, who relieves the sufferings of the people, Janardana. So Bhava means he's looking at the mood. He's looking at he doesn't care really if you pronounce perfectly, you see, because he's Krishna. But in previous ages, everything was much stricter. So you have to employ all these Brahmins to chant at just the right time astrologically, And ghee, realize how expensive ghee is, You have to boil like pounds and pounds of ghee, of butter, just to get a pint of ghee. So, but they have barrels because they have, and so it's not possible to perform those sacrifices today. Then came Dwapara Yuga, where the means of people, the modes became lower, but there's still some goodness, and elaborate deity worship. You find in India from those days, ancient temples, very amazing architectural, achievement. And they would have, real diamonds and gold and, massive temples and precise worship just according to rules and regulations, so that people would come by the thousands and participate and see the deities. And this was the main means of worship. In this age, it's not possible. We have our temples, the deities, we do the best we can, but we don't have real gold and, jewels on there. And but it's not necessary. Lord Krishna has come in this age as Lord Chaitanya, the most munificent avatar, who is giving the highest thing, which is not just liberation, but love for Krishna, which includes liberation. And he says, just chant the holy name. Doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter the time, the place, the candidate, wherever, whenever, just chant this mantra, the name. And if you do that, then the purification takes place very quickly. And you can achieve all the things that are talked about here, but in this chapter. But the principle still of self-control and moderation and offering your food is part of the Bhakti Marg, which enables us to chant purely and successfully. But in whatever you do, it doesn't matter who you are, keep chanting. Don't give it up, because it's all auspicious. So. So this is simply a verse encouraging us for the golden mean, Do everything in moderation, and do it in a Krishna conscious way, and this will be most auspicious for maintaining the body and the mind in a good state for practicing Bhakti Yoga. This is what these ashrams are about. If you actually join the ashram, which is rare these days, but that's what joining meant back in the 70s. And people would actually join in and sleep, in one big room together, But it enables you to quickly get regulated, because this is what everything is doing. You've surrendered. You're part of the program. You don't want to get up at 3 in the morning. I like to, like the first few days are really traumatic. So I remember, and then there's this whole thing of the cold shower. Oh my God. It's kind of easy here, but in New York, in March, it's still winter, that's when I joined. There was no hot water that I can remember. And so then comes that first cold shower, And now this is it, the moment of truth. Am I going to slink out of the building and go home, where there's a nice warm bed and a hot shower? Or am I going to, bite the bullet? So... You'll laugh at this, because I was practicing pranayama. I was doing hatha yoga, And I remember distinctly, I still sometimes use it today, there's a heating breath, which it really works. if you're in a situation where it's cold, you try that for a while. You see it. You don't feel cold. So I said, okay, I'll try that. So I got into the cold shower and like 7.5 seconds later, I was out of the shower and I said, all right, I'm a yogi, and went down to Mangalarti. And this was like at 4 a.m. That was the hug. But after a while, it becomes second nature. Now, after these 45 years, because I've always had the great benediction of living in or near a temple, which is not a given, as you have to drive, so it's become second nature. I can't honestly say I haven't missed any Mangalartiks. Unfortunately, my alarm clock, I got this cheap Chinese alarm clock on Amazon.com, but spontaneously it seems to revert to like the 12 o'clock, midnight, and 1:1. In other words, it resets itself. I have to maybe get a new one. So on those days, it didn't go off and I missed Mangalarti. But it's just second nature. It's not an austerity anymore. See, this is the big point, is that the things that seem impossible, like the 4 regulative principles, okay, no meat eating, I can do that, no gambling, we're good. The other 2, maybe a little more difficult. But still, it becomes possible because Krishna gives you the spiritual strength to do it. And what happens is you get a higher taste, this famous higher taste. Let's see if we can find this verse 259. I remember reading this verse and I was thinking, every devotee can relate to this verse. 259 on page 125. Vishayava nivartante nidahadasya dehina rasavajam masopyasya padam dushrana vartate. Although the embodied soul, that's us, may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste is fixed in consciousness. So that higher taste is getting that is what Krishna consciousness is all about. Because the kind of the axiomatic truth that we're working with is that Krishna himself is the supreme enjoyer. God kind of has just alone, the word God has a bad connotation. So let's not speak of that word right away. But he's the reservoir of unlimited enjoyment. After all, if you were God, you wouldn't, have to go through states of worry and anxiety, right? Everything would be bliss, of course. But it's not just that he is, in a state of bliss and has no relationship with any of us. That bliss is coming through an unlimited number of loving relationships. That's the happiness that Krishna enjoys. Not just being Atma Rama, self-satisfied. That's a much lower state of happiness. The highest state of happiness is to be in this loving exchange with the supreme lover, for eternity in an unlimited varieties of ways. It's not hackneyed or repetitive. Everything it's ever fresh. So this is what Krishna wants to do, and this is where we want to be. We want to go back to that state. The reason why we suffer in this world because we denied that relationship with Krishna. We can't break it. We're part and parcel of Krishna any more than the drop of water in the ocean can say, I don't want to be part of the ocean anymore. Can't. It's tough. That's who you are. So, but we can deny it and get in this illusory separation from Krishna. But the whole point of this material world, it's like a reformatory. Sometimes it's called a prison house. But it's not one of these prison houses where they just throw you in there and they forget about you. This is a reform school. We're in rehab here. And everyone knows in rehab you need support. You need support. Good association. So, and Krishna is always with us. This is the whole thing. Why does he come here? Why does he come here? He's perfectly happy in the spiritual world. Why would he come here? Because he's concerned. We're his children. We're his friends. And we're now denying that and we're suffering for it. So he comes personally, just a few years ago. 5,000 years compared, how long a day of Brahma is? He comes once every day of Brahma, he comes down here. A day of Brahma is over 8 billion years long. And he comes, it goes around, there's these 4 yugas cycles, 1,000 yuga cycles. And then there's the night, so that's 12 hours, then there's the night. So it comes to 8 billion plus years. And it's just been 5,000. Now compare those, it's practically yesterday, right? So we're very fortunate. Krishna's just come, and even more, he's come as Lord Chaitanya. I mean, not even yesterday. It's just like this morning, or whatever. And so we have this opportunity. And most important for us is Prabhupada came as the representative to bring it around the world. So here we are sitting here, and here's the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the words of Krishna, and he's encouraging us to moderate our necessities. In other words, live comfortably, but don't exaggerate the material necessities. Save time and mental energy for working on your consciousness, which is what Krishna consciousness is all about. Okay, we have time to read one more unless there's some questions on these points. The next verse is similar. Yuktahara baharasya. Text 17. Yukta chestasya karmasu. Yukta swapnava bodhasya. Yogo bhavati dukkha. So he's recapping the previous verse. Here is regulated, by the way, Prabhupada, he uses the male pronouns, but this is because he studied English in the early 20th century in India. So they would use the male pronouns. He means human beings here. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Purport. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered, according to the Bhagavad Gita 9.26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption, or not in the category of goodness. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. Avyarta kalatvam. This means not wasting a second. A Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakur Haridas would not even accept prasadam, nor even sleep for a moment, without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there's no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness, and because he's regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. So that's why dukkha means that misery is destroyed, suffering is destroyed. So how to get to this point? Every purport practically we're reading, Prabhupada is bringing it all back to Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga. It's all about, Ashtanga yoga. But Prabhupada is making the point early on that in this age it's really not possible. But the same principles can be incorporated into the practice of bhakti yoga appropriately. So he's read yukta hara viharasa. Means yukta means yogically, regulated. The whole idea is to stay connected. Yoga means to keep that connection to Krishna. And by regulating the eating, the sleeping, and everything else, according to the rules given by Krishna and his representatives, one maintains that connection. And we find that this is a very healthy way to live too. Is that, like we just had these fasting days. That's, it's now being discovered after a long time that this intermittent fasting is actually good for you, And I can attest, I didn't used to actually fast on Ekadashi. Ekadashi means the 11th day of the waning moon, 11th day of the waxing moon. And it's very auspicious to fast on that day. But Srila Prabhupada, he knew who we were when he came to the West. Fasting meant abstaining from grains and beans or anything made from them, you know. So I remember some pretty amazing feasts on Ekadashi back in the day. The cooks became very expert in using potato flour, you know, and a lot of peanuts and raisins and so many things. It wasn't really fasting, which is okay. That's what Prabhupada recommended. But then there came a point where there was one devotee here, very nice devotee named Brijbasi, who was the head Bajari here in the early 2000s. Very learned devotee from South Africa, and he was the head Bajari for years. And he was a younger, you know, disciple, and we were discussing Ekadashi one time, and it came out just that he would follow Nirjal Ekadashi. Nirjal is like Orthodox Ekadashi, you know, which no one practically does in the West. You don't eat anything, you don't drink any water, you stay up all night, you don't sleep, and you chant more. You spend the night, you know, chanting in kirtan or the shastra or whatever like that. I've done a couple of those. It's quite powerful. But so he would do Nirjal Ekadashi. I don't know about the Jagrata. Jagrata means staying awake. That's the hardest part. But so he said, I've been doing Nirjal for years. You know, I mean, he wasn't bragging. It just came out. And so I was thinking, as proud as I am, I said, well, he's a younger devotee. I'm an older devotee. Why shouldn't I be able to do that? So it's a trip, you know. I mean, it's one thing to fast, but there's no water, please, you know. But after a while, it became second nature, you know. It's okay, it's just the way it is. You know, it's Ekadashi, I'm not going to drink anything, and I'm going to get more time for chanting, you know. But then time went on, years went by, he went back to South Africa. And I was in India. I was in Bombay a few years ago, 2015. And I had some friends there, and I stayed there for a week in Bombay, and it was really hot. You know, even though it was October, it was still hot. And Ekadashi came around, and I was, you know, near Jal, but I was perspiring a lot, and oh God, I felt exhausted. I said, okay, I'm getting too old for this, you know. So I stopped doing the near Jal. Now I just do Jal, you know, water. But it's not like a big austerity. It's not like you have to beat your mind anymore, you know. It's just what you do, you know. And there's a certain taste to it. And actually the next day, the body, you also feel, you know, more energy, because it's just the way the physiology works. So this is one of the things that were austerities become something that is an agent for your getting closer to Krishna, like the morning program. You know, like I was saying, it's an austerity when you first come. You know, you can't sleep, you can't keep your mind on. But gradually, that becomes second nature. And says, okay, now it's time. Let's sit down and chant some japa and get going with the holy name. It's 5:15. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. And the holy name, this sound, is. I'll share one of the poems about the holy name. There's many Sanskrit writings describing it. So one of them is called the Kevalashtaka. Kevalashtaka. If you need to get a chair, we can get you one. Is it okay? You're okay? You good? Okay. So this Kevalashtaka is why is it called Kevalashtaka? Because the last line of each Sanskrit verse is based on a famous verse. Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama eva Kevalam kalo nasteva 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 gatadanyata. Which is a verse from the Puranas, which says, in this age of Kali, there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. This nastyeva means no other way for advancement but chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name of Krishna. It's one of the first verses many devotees memorize because it's so easy to memorize. It's very repetitive. So he took this one line, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, and he made that the refrain of his verse. So I'll give you one of the Sanskrit verses. It goes, the first one, Marodam Marodebhyopi Mangalebhyopi Mangalam Pavanam Pavanebhyopi Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Which means, of sweet things, it's the sweetest you will taste at any time. Of things that bring good fortune, it's the perfect paradigm. Of things that purify, it purifies most powerfully. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Now, the name of Shri Hari is the name of Krishna. Krishna has many names. Hari means he who takes away. He takes away your misery, takes away your karma, takes away your heart. And Hare is actually a name for Radharani. It's addressing Radharani. She's known as Hara. because she takes away Krishna's mind. She enchants Krishna. Anyway, so I'll give you these 8 verses. It's very instructive. So, from Brahma's realm atop the sky, down to the lowly grass, illusion reigns in Maya Devi's treacherous morass. The truth, the only truth, the name of Shri Hari, the holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. He's the guru, he's the father, he's the friend most true, and she's the real mother who most kindly teaches you to always chant and hear the holy name of Shri Hari. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Now the next one is my favorite. Remember that our final breath may come at any time, no matter if we're old and sick or in our youthful prime. So young and old alike should chant the name incessantly. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Lord Shri Hari forever dwells wherever devotees, whose hearts are fixed on him and free of all impurities, uplift their voices high and sing his name in ecstasy. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Alas, what sorrow, what great pain, the worst calamity, for people to forget the holy name of Shri Hari. Although the name's a priceless gem, mere broken glass they see. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Just fill your ears, just fill them with the name of Shri Hari. Just chant the name with all sincerity. Just sing the name, just sing the holy name eternally. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. It makes this world appear like bits of straw upon the ground. Resplendently it reigns supreme. Divinity in sound is filled with transcendental bliss and peerless purity. The holy name of Shri Hari, surely all that be. Inspired to glorify the holy name of Shri Hari, a certain sage composed this hymn in Sanskrit poetry. I pray that those who hear this lowly version made by me will chant the holy name of Shri Hari in ecstasy. Hare Krishna. So there's a lot of information in there. And this was written by a devotee he's actually an associate of Bhaktivinoda Thakur back in the day, in the 19th century. I'm not sure if he was a disciple. We learned that recently. But that holy name, all the yoga practice that is spoken of in the Bhagavad Gita, can be realized by seriously chanting the holy name. And it's free. We're not charging anything. Take the Hare Krishna mantra. So all of that is coming, and by regulating the eating and the sleeping and all the other aspects, this makes the mind peaceful, ready to receive the holy name, easier to focus on the holy name. Otherwise, distract. I mean, are you kidding? I mean, I had like years when I was absolutely a madman for prasadam. I mean, I'll confess, I never take halva anymore, because it's almost like I had my quota of halva those years. Unlimited halva. I'm pretty skinny now. You know, I'm down to my fighting weight, which is like what I was in high school. But for a while, I was up to, not too heavy, maybe 165, 68 like that, which is like 15, 18 pounds heavier than I am today. And because I would go out on Harinam 3 hours a day, that was the program. I would also do other things, but that, you know. And I got the idea, there's this one devotee of Lord Chaitanya named Vakreshwar Pandit. He's famous for being able to dance for 72 hours straight. Now, that's beyond any Olympic, thing. But so I was thinking, because we were going out 3 hours, well, I'm going to see if I can dance for at least 3 hours straight, So there's a whole story which I won't get into, how I was able to secure a nice pair of shoes for that, running shoes. And I was going out, dancing on the street, Fifth Avenue. This is Manhattan. I got to be pretty good. But when I got back, you get pretty hungry, And I would load up on the halva and sabjis and everything like that, So gradually I got a little heavy, and I would wear it out, go out on the street. So that was my mode for a while. I have some pictures I could show if you're interested. But the idea is that there was definitely a higher taste that developed, for the chanting and the dancing. And that taste matures ultimately into love of God. If you can practice strictly, then the higher taste comes very quickly. There's so many videos you can see, and today all over the world, devotees who are really practicing seriously. And you come to a certain level where you're never depressed, You may be kind of neutral for a while, but then there's always another kirtan, another festival, like we had this Rath Yatra. Did some of you get to go to LA Rath Yatra? It's like a big festival. We have a little local one here in April every year. But there's always something coming up, and if not, the morning program. That's exciting. You know, it's meant to be a little festival every day. In the old days, the evening program was just as big. We'd have the temple full, and then was, you know, the Gita class, everyone would be there, big rip-roaring kirtan at 6:30. That's what Krishna consciousness is. You read the Chaitanya Charitamrita and you'll see Lord Chaitanya's life, you know, when he's going. The kirtans would go on for hours, you know, and then the Krishna Katha and Rupa Goswami, all these great acharyas writing these incredible, you know, books about Krishna. And they fill the mind. I'll give you a little sample. We have this book, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, in the Anchal Leela, which is the beginning of the last section of Lord Chaitanya's life, of his manifestation, there's the first chapter. There's many nice quotes from some of the writings of Rupa Goswami. He was like of the 6 Goswamis, he was the leader, you know. So he wrote this play called Vidagdha Madhava, which is all about Krishna and Vrindavan, the gopis and everything, you know. So the most beautiful verses, some sample verses. Krishna is describing his experience of entering Vrindavan forest. And he says, Kwachid bringi gitam, kwachidana labongi shishidita, kwachid valli lasim, kwachidamalamali padimala, kwachid darashali kadakapalapadi rasabaro, vishikhanam vrindam pramadakiti vrindavanamidam. So this is just a sample of the Sanskrit. So what he's saying is that all of his senses are being enlivened by this Vrindavan forest. Somewhere the bees are singing, but they're not just humming, buzzing. They're singing stotras like this about Krishna, because everyone is fully Krishna conscious and conscious. And somewhere the breezes, the cool breezes are soothing, you know, cooling the whole atmosphere. Somewhere the creepers and the tree twigs are dancing in the breeze for the eyes, you know. And somewhere the mallika flowers are spreading their fragrance. And somewhere the pomegranates, these ripe pomegranates, you know how they sometimes split open? So they're so ripe, they split open and they're pouring their juice up on the ground, you know, so I can drink, you know, some of these. So all of his senses, in this way, Vrindavan forest is delighting me in every way. And just goes on like that. You know, there's every verse is a wonderful jewel that you could. And if you just learn to chant or read those and share them, you know, you're contacting the Lord in the most delightful kind of way. And this is what Lord Chaitanya would do, and they would, you know, the dancing, the chanting, the festivals, and the prasadam, and it's a full program of connection to Krishna. And it's how we will avoid coming back again. But going back, we'll go back home, back to Godhead. So, any discussion on these points? We didn't get to read finish our offering. I'm sorry. Yes?
I heard
okay. Ashtanga yoga, that's, yeah. 8 limbs.
I read that Bhakti Yoga achieves the same purpose. But what do you think of other masters, like Paramahansas, who have taken that path in this age?
Well, the general goal of the yogis who just do the Ashtanga yoga, because you'll find in this Bhagavad Gita that as we read, you know, Krishna's describing it, and then from I think 20 to 23, he describes the state of samadhi. And, you know, it's very blissful, and having gained that, you think there's no greater gain, so many things. So, but then Arjuna rejects it. You know, Arjuna says, I don't think I can do this. The mind is so powerful and disturbing, it's difficult to control like the wind, you know. So Krishna says, yes, it's difficult, but you can do it by practice. So Arjuna says, okay, but what if I fail? You know, what'll happen then? Well, says, no worries. You'll take your birth again, but you'll be, you know, in a family of yogis or Brahmins or whatever, and you'll continue. But Arjuna is not very sanguine about, you know, hopeful about doing it. He's a Kshatriya, he's a fighter, you know, that's his service. So he says, you know. So finally, at the end of the chapter, Krishna says, don't worry, yogi nama bisarvasham magatina antaratmana, that the best yogi is one who's always thinking of me within his heart with great love and faith and worshiping me like that. So Arjuna breathes the real sigh of relief, because he's always thinking of Krishna. He's Krishna's best friend, you know. So that's a big relief. And then in the next chapter, chapter 7, the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada has said that the middle 6 chapters, which begins with chapter 7, ends with chapter 12, which is entitled Bhakti Yoga, are the essence of the Gita. You know, And it's all about how we don't have to go off anywhere. We can simply hear the Bhagavad Gita and apply the knowledge. You can see Krishna when you drink some water. You can understand the taste of water, light of the sun and the moon. So the practice of this Ashtanga Yoga is not really for us in this age. For a very few it's possible. But generally what happens is that you become attached to the powers that you get, because you get certain siddhis from practicing Bhakti Yoga, from practicing Ashtanga Yoga, sorry. And you can manifest things, you can get whatever. Prabhupada said that one of his teachers told a story when he was young of he knew a real yogi, and he came, he said, what would you like to have, to his young student? Oh, a pomegranate. It was a pomegranate. So the best pomegranates grow in Kashmir, so he meditated a little bit, said, go in the next room. And there was a branch that had, wasn't there before, with a fresh pomegranate on it. He just brought it from Kashmir by his mystic power. So you can imagine getting those powers and then not being attached to the powers. In other words, I'm into it, walking on water, astral travel, whatever. So that's a distraction, because Bhakti Yoga is based on humility, seeing oneself as helpless without Krishna's protection, and praying constantly and chanting constantly. It's a different mood. So generally speaking, you find that those who get into the meditation, they don't achieve the same level of prema, love of Godhead, that the straight-on Bhakti Yogas achieve. So for us in this age, this chapter is meant to, we take what we need, important instruction, don't eat too much, don't eat too little, listen to things, with Prabhupada's commentary, and then apply it to our lives. But we have to adjourn now because the kirtan will open soon. Sorry. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maybe we can discuss after. Thank you for listening.